everyone, and my name is Eula, and today we're gonna read the Magic Tree as Merlin mission book 9, Dragon of the Red Down, and today we're gonna start reading at chapter 4, Sushi and Samuel, and the end of reading at chapter 5 because it's a very long story to read, okay? And now, are you ready to read this one book with a lot of stories? And now here we go. And first you can read is the Magic Tree as Merlin mission 9, Dragon of the Red Down, chapter 4, Sushi and Samuel. Basho led Jack and Annie up the Great Bridge and down crowded road. They passed huge sacks of lumber. They had came to the row of the stages built along the riverbank. One of the stage women were dancing. Their faces had painted white. They wore shimmering kimonos and waved fans. Magicians played with the second stage. They pocketed to raise the range instruments, blew on bamboo flutes. Their music was high-pitched and strange, but Jack liked it. On another stage was puppet show. Puppeteers wear black clothes and move a giant dragon puppet around the stage. A man stood up aside to tell the story to a audience. From the back of the crowd, it was hard to hear him. "What he's saying," said Annie. "He is telling the legend of the Cloud Dragon," said Basho. "The Cloud Dragon is one of the garden animals in 4 directions. She has the power of the light, commands the rain clouds." "Cool," said Annie. Basho led them on past of the rows of stores where the crowd people sold bats, cloth, kites, and paper lanterns. Some boys are holding up yo-yos for sale. Jack was surprised to see yo-yo in old Japan. Behind the crab stalls in the row of innies and cafes, a smell of spice and grilled fish filled the air. "Yum," said Annie. Jack was hungry too. "Would you like to stop at the tea house?" Basho asked them. "Yes," Jack and Annie said together. Basho led them to the small building with an open front. At the entrance, Basho slipped off their sandals, and Jack and Annie did the same. They had placed their sandals in the row of the shoes that other people had left by the door. Inside the tea house, cooks straight steaming pots over the wood-burning stove. People sat at long, low tables, eating with chopsticks and drinking from small cups. Several customers smiled shyly and bowed before Basho. Basho must be very famous of the teacher of Samuel, Jack thought. It made Jack feel important to be with him. Basho led them to the table and sat cross-legged with the waiter and her handkerchief around his hand. Had hurried to the table. "Welcome to our humble tea house, Master Basho," he said. "Thank you," said Basho. "Everyone is so polite in Japan," Jack lied. The waiter handed Jack and Annie Basho in warm wet towels. "Thank you," said Jack and Annie. Jack watched Basho wipe his hands on the towel. Jack and Annie did the same. And then they all gave the towels back to the waiter. "I would like the plates of sushi for me and my 2 students, please," said Basho. "Thank you," said the waiter, bowing. While they waited for their food, Deb studied the people of the room. Jack noticed that even little kids are eating with chopsticks. Annie never had so much. much lucky using chopsticks in Asian restaurants back home. Soon the waiter brought over 3 plates of small cakes of sticky rice, wrapped on the dark green paper like stripes. He also brought napkins and 3 pairs of chopsticks. Then the waiter had gone. Basho spoke to Jack and Annie in a soft voice so no one else could hear. "We can call this sushi," he said. "It's rice with a piece of raw fish in the middle." "Raw fish?" said Jack. He gulped. "And what's this part?" And he pointed at the papery wrapping. "Seaweed," said Basho. "Seaweed?" said Jack. "It is very good," said Basho. Jack was so hungry, he was willing to try anything, even the raw fish and seaweed. His only problem was the chopsticks. "Try this way, Jack," said Annie. She carefully picked up the piece of sushi between the woolen ends of her chopsticks. Jack copied her. But as they both tried to bring their food to their mouths, their pieces of sushi fell onto the table. Jack and Annie laughed and tried a second time. Annie was successful, but Jack dropped the sushi again without thinking. He grabbed with his fingers and popped out into his mouth. Said Jack. "The vinegar tastes rice, and the raw fish and the green salty seaweed were delicious." But Jack stopped and made chew. The two Shermole at another table glaring at him. One of the men had a big scar on his face. The another had very dark eyes. Jack, the road was dry and sallow. "They saw me mess up my chopsticks," he cried. "They can tell I'm not from Japan." He picked up another piece of sushi with his chopsticks. He glanced again at the the thermal. They were watching him like hawkies. Jack's hand felt shaky. He tried to stay calm. Remember the passenger from the research book. Samuel did not show their feelings. They had great powers of concentration. Jack tried very hard not to show his fear. He concentrated on holding the sushi with the chopsticks. He raised onto the sushi in his mouth and ate it calmly. He lowered to his chopsticks and picked up another piece of sushi. He ate calmly. And when Jack and Annie looked back at Samuel, they were no longer watching him. Jack let out his breath. He picked up the last piece of sushi with his chopsticks and ate it calmly. "Very good," said Basho, smiling at him. "Thanks," said Jack. "Let us go now," said Basho. Basho held the napkin neatly and left it beside the plate. Jack and Annie did the same. Basho paid for their meals, and then they helped stuff the entranceway to put on their shoes. As they stepped outside, a drum began to beating loudly. A huge crowd and gathered on grassy riverbank. "What's happening?" Annie asked. "Come, I will show you," said Basho, people moving aside. So Basho could lead Jack and Annie into the front of the crowd. A large ring had been marked over two of the ground with a straw in the middle of the circle. Two enormously fat men had scored opposite sides of the ring, and each man looked as if he weighed more than 400 pounds, and they had clapped on their hands, each began to stamping his feet. "Oh, wow! I saw this at the YouTube, and here are some two very fat men, and it's a Japan sports kind of something, and the two fat men have stand to the opposite side of the ground. Then it's like a Korean sport, and making another man standing at the opposite side of that people lying on the ground. So then that man lying on the ground is loose, and some man making that people lying on the ground wins. So it's a very hard game because the fat man might be very, very strong. Who are they? Said Annie, her eyes wide. Sumo wrestlers. Oh yes, the Korean name is sumo too, and it's a Japan kind of very fat man sports. And the name of that sports name is sumo. Sumo wrestlers, said Basho. Sumo wrestling have been our most popular sport for over 1,000 years. Oh wow, when the 1,000 years then came along, then at that time they do the sumo like this time too. And the two whiskers are now perfectly still, crouching down with a clenched fist, and they were glancing to one another. The whole crowd seemed to hold its breath as the whiskers stared into each their eyes. Suddenly the whisker lunged forward and grabbed another, and then the hugely fat man had pushing each other around. They're trying to force each other out of the ring, said Basho. Grunting and groaning, the two men had moved backyard and forward as spectators and cheered wildly. One half the whiskers made quick to move his short rifle out of the circle. The crowd roared, and Jack had found himself cheering too. Oh, Jack didn't know Jack is cheering like another people, but Jack is still cheering. And when the noise died down, Basho turned to Jack and Annie. The first match is over, he said. Shall we go now? Before Jack and Annie could answer him, the two Samuel stepped in front of them, and the big squirrel eyes on their face, and another frank dark eyes. Excuse me, said the scar-faced man. May we see your passport, please? Oh no, Jack and Annie didn't have a passport. But the rhyme says, you can just make you can use to make something to make the people happy. But when Jack and Annie made the passport with that rhyme, then it's not nice for everybody, just nice for Jack and Annie. So what should Jack and Annie could do? We will see that. I think I will tell you the story maybe when we met you. And I will gonna read this all of the story at our apartment library, okay? And now, did you have fun? US English Country will come back with some new beginning, new story tomorrow, okay? Now, bye-bye, everybody. And please don't visit my YouTube. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a nice day. Bye.